The acrid scent of smoke stung Sarah Mitchell's nostrils as she neared her home. After a grueling 12-hour night shift at Riverside Medical Center, the exhausted nurse was stepping out of her car when she spotted dark plumes rising from the house next door. Thick, choking smoke poured from the residence of the elderly Wilson couple. Flames licked the walls, growing fiercer by the second. The home of 80-year-old George Wilson and his 77-year-old wife, Eleanor Wilson, was consumed by fire. A crowd of neighbors had gathered, murmuring anxiously, but the fire department was nowhere in sight. "George and Eleanor are still inside," one neighbor cried out. "They can't get out." Sarah dropped her bag, her eyes narrowing as she scanned the burning structure. Unlike the others, who backed away in fear, she didn't retreat. "Sarah, what are you doing?" a neighbor shouted. "Wait for the firefighters." But Sarah didn't hesitate. She sprinted toward the back of the house, calling out, "George! Eleanor! I'm coming!" In that moment, her posture shifted, her movements sharp, deliberate, as if a switch had flipped. Within the next 15 minutes, the neighborhood would discover who Sarah Mitchell truly was. The smoke and flames weren't strangers to her. Welcome to Hidden Heroes. Before we dive deeper into this gripping tale, let us know in the comments where you're reading from today. And if you think stories like this need to be shared, give that like button a tap. Sarah Mitchell was Riverside Medical Center's steadiest night shift nurse. At 35, with her dark hair tied back in a neat ponytail and hazel eyes that calmed even the most anxious patients, she had worked at the hospital for 6 years, never faltering under pressure. Sarah's approach to nursing stood out. While her colleagues stuck to standard protocols, she performed meticulous assessments, her hands moving with a precision that puzzled her peers. "Why so thorough, Sarah?" they'd ask. "Habit," she'd reply with a small smile. When checking equipment, her movements were almost mechanical, inspecting every tool as if lives depended on it. "We're nurses, Sarah, not special forces," her coworker Emily would tease. Sarah's schedule was a model of discipline, shifts from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., patient charts immaculate, emergency protocols executed flawlessly. But her colleagues didn't know her full story. At 19, Sarah had enlisted in the military, driven by a lifelong dream to serve. "I'll become the best medic I can," she had vowed, determined to save lives. Joining the Army, Sarah entered the combat medic program. After basic training, she was handpicked for an elite 18-month course, advanced combat medical training, covering battlefield interventions, search and rescue, and patient care under hostile conditions. "A combat medic isn't just a healer," her instructor, Captain Reynolds, had said. "You'll make split-second decisions between life and death, often under fire." Sarah internalized this, mastering medical interventions with scarce resources, rescue techniques, and patient stabilization in chaotic environments. The toughest training was in high-risk rescue operations, extracting patients from burning structures, providing care in smoke-filled zones, and navigating collapsing buildings. Sarah excelled, her instincts razor-sharp. Her first deployment was to a conflict zone in Syria, where she served with a forward medical unit, treating soldiers amid gunfire and executing rescue missions after airstrikes. In one operation, she pulled 6 soldiers from a blazing outpost after a rocket attack, stabilizing them under relentless pressure. Her second tour, in urban combat zones in Yemen, honed her skills in civilian rescues and fire suppression. Her final assignment, classified counterterrorism operations, saw her providing medical support during high-stakes missions, including emergency extractions and fire safety for VIP escorts. Over a decade, Sarah completed 137 critical medical operations and 92 rescue missions, never losing a single patient. So why leave the military for nursing? The toll of PTSD, a yearning for a quieter life, and a desire to serve her local community pulled her back to civilian life. The transition was challenging. Civilian healthcare felt familiar yet frustratingly slow compared to the high-stakes chaos of combat medicine. After an honorable discharge in 2020, Sarah underwent PTSD therapy and career transition support. Riverside Medical Center hired her without probing her past. Her resume, nursing degree, combat medic certification and a decade of military experience made her overqualified, but she downplayed it. "I just want to help people heal," she told the hiring panel, her sincerity disarming. Daily nursing tasks were simpler than military ops: patient care, routine checkups, standard emergencies. Yet Sarah approached every case like a combat medic, scanning for risks others missed. "How do you know so much about crisis management?" her colleague Rachel would ask. "Observation," Sarah would say, deflecting. "Every emergency teaches you something." That Wednesday morning, after her usual night shift, Sarah trudged toward her house, craving rest. The quiet morning was shattered by the smell of smoke. At first, she thought it was a neighbor's grill, but the odor grew sharper, more ominous, emanating from the Wilsons' house next door. As Sarah surveyed the Wilson couple's house, the gravity of the situation snapped into focus. Thick black smoke poured from the upper floor, and an ominous red glow flickered through the lower windows. "Fire!" a neighbor yelled. "The Wilsons' house is burning." Sarah dropped her bag. "Are George and Eleanor inside?" she asked sharply. "Yes," a neighbor replied, voice trembling. "They can't get out. The doors are locked, and they're not answering." Sarah's mind raced, calculating risks. Smoke inhalation was an immediate threat to the elderly couple. "When will the fire department get here?" she demanded. 10 to 15 minutes, someone answered, but that might be too late. Sarah was already circling the house, scanning it with a tactician's eye. Her military training kicked in as she assessed the structure: a 2-story wooden house, fire originating upstairs, smoke thickening rapidly. The lower floor was smoky but not yet ablaze. "Sarah, what are you doing?" a neighbor shouted. "We need to wait for the fire department." "George and Eleanor don't have 10 minutes, Sarah replied, her voice steady and authoritative. "They'll suffocate." The neighbors froze, stunned by the command in her tone and the way she analyzed the fire. This was a Sarah they'd never known. "Sarah, you're a nurse," her neighbor, Mrs. Carter, said nervously. "This is a job for firefighters." Keys in hand, Sarah responded calmly, "I know what I'm doing." She tore off her jacket, wrapping it around her mouth to shield against the smoke. 10 years of combat medic training surged to the surface: low stance, controlled breathing, systematic search protocols. "Everyone, step back," she ordered. "Call 911 and get an ambulance here." Sarah's movements transformed, calculated, precise, like a soldier on a mission. Fire assessment, entry strategy, rescue plan. "How is she doing this?" Mrs. Carter whispered, awestruck. Sarah didn't respond. Her mind flashed to a night in Iraq, a burning warehouse, dense smoke, and a successful extraction with minimal gear. She entered the Wilsons' house through the back door. The lower floor was thick with smoke but flame-free. Using disciplined breathing techniques, she began her search. "George! Eleanor! Where are you?" A faint groan answered from the bedroom. The first rescue was George Wilson. The 80-year-old lay on his bed, dazed from smoke but conscious. "George, I'm Sarah, your neighbor," she said firmly. "I'm getting you out." "Eleanor, where's Eleanor?" he rasped. "I'll find her. First, you're leaving." With practiced ease, Sarah hoisted the 85-kilograms man over her shoulder, her decade of rescue training making the task seamless. She carried him downstairs and set him at a safe distance outside. The neighbors gaped. "Sarah, how are you doing this?" one asked. George was struggling to breathe. Sarah knelt, performing airway clearance and improvised oxygen support with clinical precision. "That's professional rescue work," Mrs. Carter murmured, astonished. The second rescue was dire. Eleanor Wilson lay unconscious in the upstairs bathroom, overcome by smoke. Sarah re-entered the house, where the smoke had grown denser, visibility nearly gone. Flames had reached the stairs, blocking her initial exit. She mapped an alternative route in seconds. Finding Eleanor, she checked her vitals: no breathing, faint pulse, critical smoke poisoning. Time was running out. Drawing on her battlefield experience, Sarah acted fast: artificial respiration, chest compressions, clearing airways. She lifted Eleanor into her arms and navigated toward a side exit. Halfway down, Eleanor's heart stopped. Sarah laid her on the floor and began CPR, but this was no ordinary CPR. It was military-grade resuscitation, honed for impossible odds on the battlefield. "Sarah, what's happening?" a neighbor yelled. Her heart stopped, Sarah replied. "She can't wait for the ambulance." For 8 grueling minutes, Sarah performed relentless chest compressions and mouth-to-mouth, sweat dripping, her focus unbreakable. "Sarah, 8 minutes is too long." Mrs. Carter sobbed. "No," Sarah snapped, her voice like steel. "I won't lose Eleanor." "Never." Her combat medic oath echoed in her mind: never give up. Every life matters. Her hands moved with machine-like rhythm, fueled by a decade of saving lives in chaos. At the 8th minute, Eleanor gasped, her breathing restored. Mrs. Carter fell to her knees. How did you do that?" Sarah, panting but resolute, said, "Because I don't give up." Just then, sirens wailed. Fire Chief Daniels and his crew arrived alongside paramedics led by Supervisor Evans. The fire was contained, and the medical team approached Sarah. "Ma'am, can we get your report?" Evans asked. "2 rescued," Sarah said. "1 with smoke inhalation, 1 with cardiac arrest. Both stabilized." The chief and supervisor exchanged glances, reviewing her actions. "This is elite-level rescue work," Daniels said. "Who performed this?" The neighbors turned to Sarah, their eyes wide with awe. Sarah Mitchell had done it alone. "Ma'am, how do you know these advanced rescue techniques?" Fire Chief Daniels asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. Sarah, after 6 years of keeping her past under wraps, decided it was time to speak. Sergeant Sarah Mitchell, U.S. Army combat medic, retired. A stunned silence fell over the group. Chief Daniels and paramedic supervisor Evans stared, jaws slack. Army combat medic, Sarah continued. 10 years active duty, advanced combat medical training, rescue operations, 3 deployments. Mrs. Carter's eyes widened. "Sarah, you were a military medical specialist, working as a nurse at Riverside Medical Center?" Hospital director Dr. Larson was soon informed of the incident. "Who performed this neighbor rescue operation?" he asked the night shift supervisor. "Sarah did it herself," came the reply. Dr. Larson reviewed the reports, his expression shifting to shock. "This is extraordinary: advanced life support, smoke inhalation treatment, cardiac resuscitation. This is elite-level rescue work." Sarah had quietly returned to her nursing duties, but Dr. Larson's next question would unravel her story. "Sarah, where does this expertise come from?" he pressed. Sarah took a steadying breath. "I was an Army combat medic, sir. Advanced rescue specialist, 3 deployments." The room went silent. Everything clicked into place. Dr. Larson's voice was filled with awe. "Our nurse is a retired combat medic. Not just any medic, advanced life support, smoke rescue, multi-casualty incident management." George and Eleanor Wilson, now recovering in the hospital, were beginning to grasp the full story. Then came the question that sealed it. "What was your military rank?" Dr. Larson asked. "Sergeant, combat medical specialist," Sarah replied. Dr. Larson nodded, impressed. "Sergeant Mitchell, your rescue experience outstrips most of our emergency responders." Sarah remained humble. "It's a different context, sir. I'm a nurse now." But Dr. Larson wasn't finished. "Sergeant Mitchell, would you consider joining our emergency response team?" Sarah blinked, caught off guard. I'm not civilian emergency response certified. Dr. Larson waved it off. We can arrange that. Your skills, your experience, we need them. Sarah's story is more than one of heroism. It's a testament to rescue expertise, finding purpose in civilian life, and an unyielding instinct to serve. Sometimes, the greatest rescuers work quietly as nurses, saving lives even in the face of flames. George and Eleanor Wilson say it every time they see Sarah: real heroes conquer fire. The courage Sarah displayed that morning wasn't just from military training, it stemmed from a resolve to protect others, even in civilian life. I'm no longer a soldier, Sarah would say. I'm a healer, and no fire will make me lose a life. If this story touched you, share it, spread the word, and help these powerful stories live on. See you in the next tale of hidden heroes. And remember, your local healthcare worker might just have the skills to overcome extreme situations you'd never suspect. Service never stops, it rises above the flames.